congratulations my cutters. I'm going to make a filling. I'm going to make a white chocolate ganache, but I'm going to have this as a fruit flavoured ganache. So it is essentially the same as we normally would make a ganache. However, we're going to add mango to this one. So to do that, you're going to need, because we're using white chocolate, you're going to need double cream. Now if you're using sort of like a dark chocolate or a milk chocolate, because the fat content is a lot higher, you don't necessarily need double cream, or as the Americans call it, heavy cream. You can have sort of single cream or whipping cream. Okay, but because we're using white chocolate, and you need to make sure your white chocolate is at least 20% cocoa, otherwise it's not really going to work. So I've weighed out there 300 grams of those chocolate chips. I've got 200 grams of double cream in the saucepan, and if we were simply making the ganache, we boil that up, and as that gets to boiling, we melt that in, or melt the chocolate in that. But because we're adding fruit, I've got here, for that quantity, 100 grams of mango pieces. So the first thing is, obviously we want to blitz this, because we're not having great big chunks of latte in it, are we? So I'm just going to put that in the blender or food processor or whatever, and we're just going to blitz this up. What we're going to do is just to make sure we've got those bits in it, as it were. We're now just going to put that through a sieve. It's probably going to need a little bit of help to squeeze most of this through. If you can actually pulp it all up and get it really nice, you know, and pureed, then you could probably skip this stage. But because I've struggled to completely reduce that down, I'm just going to pass it through the sieve, and then we'll be ready to heat up that cream. So I did add some of that pulp. I made sure it was sort of, there were no big lumps in it, because obviously we're going to pipe this because it's going to be a filling. So it doesn't need to be dead smooth. If we, you know, like, it's not like we're making a ganache perhaps to spread over a cake. So I'm just going to make sure that's mixed in, and then we're going to put that on the heat, and when it comes to just starting to boil, we don't want it boiling over, but we do want it about to boil, otherwise it won't be hot enough. We're then going to pour it over that chocolate. Right, it is important, if you are going to stir it, that you make sure you've got like a flat blade that you can get all over the bottom, otherwise you will get burnt spots. So this is almost there now. It's just starting to bubble. We don't want it carrying on and going over the top, so keep our eye on it. It is now pretty much just starting to boil, so I'm going to turn the heat off, and we just tip that onto that chocolate, and we now leave it for 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to whisk this together. Okay, if the chocolate hasn't melted, if there's still lumps of chocolate, which this doesn't look like there is, then you can put it in the microwave 5 seconds, bring it out and carry on stirring it, and just do that. But obviously be very careful about heating the chocolate in the microwave, 5-second bursts. So this is going to need cooling, obviously, and it's going to start setting as it cools down. Obviously it's still quite warm at the minute, so that's why it's still very runny. And with this ganache, you can put it in a tub and you can shove it in the fridge, and you can keep it a week or so. So, you know, if you've got way too much, because the problem is with that blending that fruit, if you cut it back too much, you're not going to be able to blend it. So you can make this in bulk if you like. It just means you're going to be using a lot of mango flavoured white chocolate ganache. So as this sets, you can whip it more, so you can have like a whipped ganache, which some people use for fillings. But for now, I think all that chocolate's mixed in. We're just going to set that to one side, and so when we're ready to use it, it'll be ready. So there you go, that's your mango and white chocolate ganache.